Why does your child beg for dessert or soda, but you watch their shoulders slump when you tell them what's for dinner? Well, one reason is high fructose corn syrup when it's engineered to be sweeter and cheaper than sugar. And here's the kicker. It doesn't tell your child's brain that they're full. Instead, it flips the hunger switch and it keeps them coming back for more. Parents, I know you've seen this in real life because in my cooking classes, the moment I say, today we're making cookies, the room explodes. The kids cheer. They're literally jumping up and down, or at least energetically they are. But when I say we're making soup or roasted vegetables, I watch the shoulders fall. They might smile, they're polite, but it does not have the same effect. What's awesome is that I can use this as a teaching moment in cooking class. This is the high fructose corn syrup effect. It hijacks the brain's reward system, and here's how. Fructose doesn't trigger fullness. Glucose releases insulin and leptin, hormones that say you're full. Fructose barely moves those levers. The brain's hunger centers stay lit up because fructose excites the brain more than glucose. And over time, the brain tunes out leptin altogether. Kids keep eating even if their body has plenty of it stored. So this mimics addiction. Sweetness triggers dopamine, a feel-good chemical. And over time, high fructose corn syrup locks kids into a reward loop, like drug addiction. This isn't just dessert. High fructose corn syrup hides in pizza crust, pizza sauce, barbecue sauce, ketchup, even Italian sausage. Foods that we eat every single week, and disproportionately foods that are targeted for kids. And as if the cravings weren't enough, this was very disheartening to me. The more high fructose corn syrup foods that kids crave, the more mercury exposure they could be getting.
But how is mercury getting into corn syrup? Everything you want to know, but were afraid to ask. Researchers looked at 50 different brands of foods containing corn syrup, from soda pop to Pop Tarts, Yoplait yogurt, jelly. The result? About 30% were contaminated with detectable levels of mercury. Given its mercury contamination, one could argue that high fructose corn syrup is worse than sugar, but both are bad for us. They're both just empty calories with zero nutrition. Check out this classic sugar industry ad. If sugar is so fattening, how come so many kids are thin? That certainly can't be said anymore. The tagline, sugar, it's not just good flavor. Sugar is good food.
Independent labs found detectable mercury in about 30% of high fructose corn syrup products, from sodas to yogurt to snack cakes. And mercury is a neurotoxin. Even in small amounts, it can damage developing brains. So while high fructose corn syrup drives kids to eat more, it may also be exposing them to a toxic metal at the same time. That's a double hit that parents just can't afford to ignore. Why does high fructose corn syrup show up disproportionately in kids' foods? Because the earlier you hook a consumer, the longer you keep them. And the food companies use high fructose corn syrup to hit the bliss point. Yes, that's what it's called. The exact level of sweetness that keeps us craving more. Their taste buds are more sensitive, so the effect is magnified. And high fructose corn syrup is cheap. It keeps bread soft, yogurt sweet, and condiments shelf stable, and it's perfect for lunch boxes and cafeterias. It ends up in cereal and fruit drinks and granola bars. But the most unsuspecting things are the ketchup, the barbecue sauce, and the pizza sauce. If we zoom out and we ask ourselves, why does sugar taste so good in the first place? Why does a baby light up the first time you give them something sweet? Well, it's biology, and for thousands of years, sweet meant survival. Ripe fruit signaled safe energy. Babies are literally born preferring sweet. It encourages nursing, and it protects them against bitter toxins. But here's the difference. For millennia, sweet foods came with fiber, water, vitamins, like in the form of whole fruit. High fructose corn syrup just hijacks our survival wiring. And now it is put in a number of junk foods that are detrimental to our health, to say the least. And this is exactly why kids need cooking classes. Because here's what happens. The same child who jumps out of their seat at the word cookies often tells me at the end of the semester that their favorite recipe was the soup or the stir fry or the savory dish that we made. They start by chasing sugar, but once they cook and taste and share real food, their wiring begins to shift. They learn that savory can be satisfying and that whole foods actually taste amazing. They learn that food isn't just flavor, it's fuel, it's freedom. Cooking is how we break up the programming. It's how we rewire their brains and bring them back into balance. And outside of cooking class, there is just very little food literacy, which is why we don't know where high fructose corn syrup is hiding or even what it is. I mean, I was shocked when I realized years of giving my kids waffles and syrup for breakfast that I was actually smothering their waffles with high fructose corn syrup. The syrup that I was buying had no maple syrup in it whatsoever. It was a bottle of high fructose corn syrup, caramel coloring, and maple flavoring. So we need to look closer, not just at sodas and sports drinks, but barbecue sauce, salad dressings, yogurts, breads, cereals, granola bars, those sneaky foods like pepperoni on our pizza or Italian sausage, soups, crackers, pickles. It is just crazy to me how many things have high fructose corn syrup. And high fructose corn syrup isn't just sugar. It's more fructose than the label admits. Sometimes it even carries mercury. It blunts fullness, lights up the reward pathways in the brain, and hides in foods that you would never expect. So let me give you a leadership challenge for this week. Have your family check 3 labels in your pantry. Teach your kids to spot high fructose corn syrup. When they discover it for themselves, they'll never look at food the same way again. And if you want to see kids in action, watch my next video where the kids build bento box lunches. No hidden sugars, no dyes, no chemicals, just real food. Because freedom begins and ends in the kitchen.
Mary is a busy girl. She needs sugar in her life for energy. She needs energyless artificial sweeteners like a turtle needs a seatbelt. 18 calories per teaspoon, and it's all energy. That's the problem, right? Only the sugar industry could take its greatest weakness, empty calories, and try to spin it into something good.